toxic masculinity.
So if you don't want to hear us rant on about our sad lives and answer questions and comments from the people, but our show does that. Our show gives voice to the people. That's what we do at the end of every show. We let you guys be heard. So if you guys want to say something or if you want to ask a question.
Valeria looks so mad. Yes, I know. I know, guys.
Are you mad? Are you mad?
No, but it's my natural face expression.
That's your natural expression. Go ahead and take some questions and answer them yourself while I change the lighting.
There is a super chat from Kaylee Nialis. She says, I have MS and will not be taking a vaccine. What is MS? Can you? Okay. Why aren't parents stepping forward to their children? Why not claiming their kids? Is it about immigrants?
Oh, I think that's a little too bright.
No, it's good.
No.
Ah.
I'll read it again. I don't understand.
Why aren't parents stepping forward for their children? Why not claiming their kids?
Oh, you mean at the border?
Yes, I think so.
Well, I think that the reason for that is that there are basically different rules for if you're an unaccompanied minor or if you're like accompanied with your family.
Mm-hmm.
If you're accompanied with your family, the rules are it's a little bit more difficult to get in the United States. You have to try to get an asylum. But if you are an unaccompanied minor, they just like let you in.
Interesting.
So that's why parents aren't claiming their kids. They want them to basically be alone and, have the address of some kind of relative so that they're basically shuffled in the United States and they're sent to whatever address they have.
Mm-hmm.
Jen Psaki, in talking about how humane they are with the Biden administration, they're like, we're doing a lot of different things than the Trump administration did. Like, we're checking their pockets to see if they have an address, and they have an address, then we send them there. And it's like, the hell are you talking about, lady? Like, I'm sure that the Trump administration was like, what is this address you got here, boy? Ha 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 ha! Throw it in the trash. You're gonna be locked away forever. I mean, the way Democrats think of how Republicans are and how like evil and crazy we are is, I mean, it's out of like a fantasy novel. They think they read books about evil villains and watch movies and TV shows about like vicious evil people. From like the slave days, like slave owners going, work, boy, ha ha ha, and they go, this is what Republicans are. They have this imaginary version of what Republicans are and Trump people and stuff like that. That is just like they're the most vicious, villainous, evil people in the world. And I don't know how many Democrats really believe that, and I don't know how many Democrats are just like going along with this, bizarre fantasy version of reality in order to get more votes, but. It's a weird thing that I can't even believe people buy it, but people seem to buy it. I mean, there is enough people that believe that kind of stuff that makes the world a worse place. Anyway, continue. You have some kind of a super chat or something?
Yes, two.
Okay.
Cassandra Benefield. Can I claim African American with my 1% African?
Valeria's claiming to be Jewish.
Do it.
So I would say go for it.
Okay. Lauren Smart. Some of kids are sold as well.
Yeah, that's true. No, well, not only that, it's human trafficking. It's also drug trafficking, and they use some of the kids as drug mules. From what I understand, there is this scheme that they have where what they'll do is they'll send kids over the border. The kids will come back into Mexico. And then they'll go illegally again, and they'll just keep doing that. And they're getting paid by the cartels to do this because what ends up happening is a lot of these illegal immigrants crossing the border and having to be processed by the Border Patrol create such a distraction from the Border Patrol that they can't keep an eye on other areas of the border that maybe drugs are coming into, or criminals, or terrorists, or child molesters, or whatever. These people are trying to get through. I think mainly it's for the drugs, of course, but you know what I mean? Like, they create a distraction. So when they're dealing with all of these kids and various people that are pretending to come across, Biden is facilitating criminal enterprises, right? he's creating a situation in which criminals are flourishing. He's essentially making money for the cartels in Mexico. His policies are. And the fact that he doesn't realize that, or his handlers or his people don't realize that, is quite shocking. I'm not sure if they don't realize that or they don't
They
care
do.
because
They do. They're just trying to
it makes them look good. Because they're
destroy America. That's all they do.
maybe they might be trying to destroy America. They just may be trying to look like they are. You know, that there are people who care. We care about the immigrants. We care, so we have to have these policies in place.
No, you don't have to.
You know, it's ruining everybody's lives. You missed one.
I didn't.
Scott Townsend. You missed Scott Townsend.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I did miss it.
Scott Townsend asks, "What did you guys do for your first date? Do you remember, Valeria? I remember.
I do.
What did we do?
Went to Santa Monica.
Yes, that's right. We were on Santa Monica Pier. I think Santa Monica Pier is kind of famous. It's actually a very touristy spot. But locals go there too. Everybody goes there. And we went to Santa Monica Pier, and we found like a little. Did you catch a bug? That's cool. Good job, Aston. Clever little cat. And we found a little place that was hidden away behind all like the shops and everything that nobody could see us. And we just kind of hung out back there, away from everybody. Well, we walked around too a little bit, but it's nice when you're in a public space to find like an area where other people can't see you. when you're on a date, I feel like. But yeah, it was a nice time. We went to a park afterwards. We found like a beautiful park just across from Santa Monica Pier.
Okay.
Anything else? Anything else exciting?
Mark, do you have any walk film recommendations for the weekend?
You know what's actually funny about that? So one of the things I've been talking about, I talked about it early in the show, is that I have problems sleeping. And one thing I've always felt I should do is read at night instead of watching TV or checking social media. But one thing that's kind of a benefit of being a known social media person, known on YouTube, is that I get a lot of messages every day. Like so many messages, in fact, that it becomes difficult to respond. And I think sometimes people who I know relatively well who are like, they kind of feel bummed out because I'm not writing them. But it's not because of them specifically. It's because I have so many. I get burnt out from social media. So social media is no longer something I have a compulsion to look at. It's in fact something that's a bit of a chore for me to deal with. And another thing that I've noticed is that television has gotten far worse than it used to be. Like, I do have recommendations though if you really want something to watch, because I've watched everything that I would like to watch that is non-woke and is good. But I think that the only really good non-woke show right now is Mandalorian. Mandalorian is great.
After they fired
Gina Carano. Well, it doesn't really matter because it's still created by Jon Favreau, who I believe is either conservative or libertarian. So go ahead and watch Mandalorian if you can. It's on Disney Plus. If you don't want to buy Disney Plus, I recommend just downloading views and just stealing the episodes from torrents. I don't usually recommend criminal activity, but I don't like Disney right now. And I used to download. I still actually do. I still will download movies and stuff like that. Specifically, even though we subscribe to like every service that you can subscribe to, because I sometimes need editable versions of videos so I can insert the clips into my Mr. Reagan videos and stuff like that. So I'll still download stuff, not for us to watch, but for me to use on the show. That's just a point of necessity, actually. But let's see. So what I've decided to do instead of watching anything or checking social media is reading. So I've got the James Bond novel Casino Royale. I have an early edition of that. That I have by my bedstand. That's what I'm going to read next. And but the light's too bright next to our bed, so I bought this little tiny light that I can just read with. So that's my new plan. I'm going to be reading books. I would suggest if you want anything unwoke to watch old things or to read old books. But one of my favorite shows of all time is a show called Quantum Leap. That was a show from the 80s. Highly recommend catching up on old episodes of Quantum Leap. A lot of nostalgia there, but also it'll just take you. It's just really, really good show. Another great show, I think probably the best show ever in history of television, is a show called The Twilight Zone. I recommend watching. You can find lists online of like the best episodes and watch those. I don't always agree with those lists, but the Twilight Zone, amazing, amazing show. MacGyver, also a classic from the 80s. But if you want a modern show, yeah, Mandalorian is great. There was a show that I used to watch that is really one of my favorite of all time shows, with a prominent conservative actor who plays the character of Casey on the show, and that show is called Chuck. A show called Chuck. It's great. And then there's another show from HBO, in fact, which I would highly recommend, called Silicon Valley. If you haven't watched the show Silicon Valley, I highly recommend that show. A fairly modern show. But yeah, the only show that I can think. Oh, another good show from Netflix is that's a modern show. Is what's the show with the little kids? Stranger Things. Stranger Things is actually not really a woke show. It's not. It doesn't have any like woke messaging. I think that the guys that have written it, I have no idea what their politics are, but they don't seem to inject politics. It just seems to be like an old-fashioned like 80s style show. It's set in the 80s. It's filmed like a Spielberg film. So it's definitely. Do you have any recommendations, darling?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, the Harry Potter movies. If you want to watch the old Harry Potter movies, revisit those, or revisit the old Lord of the Rings films. Those are great films. But anyway, that's my recommendation. Is old 80s TV shows or the modern shows that I mentioned. But I'm gonna start reading books again. I haven't read books in a while. I actually mentioned on the show the other day that I'm not excuse me, I'm a remarkably slow reader, considering that I've actually written something like 12 feature film scripts and several TV shows pilots, and I've written so much in my life, but I can't, for some reason I can't read fast. I don't know what that is. All right. Somebody wrote Outer Limits. I never got into Outer Limits. But I will tell you what, if you liked Twilight Zone, but you want something like Twilight Zone, but not Twilight Zone, watch a show called Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Alfred Hitchcock Presents is one of the best shows of all time. I would say it's equal to Twilight Zone. It just doesn't quite get the same. People don't remember it quite as fondly, but it is an amazing show. There's one episode called Lamb to the Slaughter. I think it's called Lamb to the Slaughter. Watch Lamb to the Slaughter, Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And of the Twilight Zone, my favorite ever Twilight Zone, one is called something about... Okay, one is called... Gosh, what's it called? All the Time in the World, or Time Enough at Last, or something like that. Gosh, I can't remember. You guys probably remember. And then the other one is called One for the Angels, I think, or something like that. Pitch for the Angels, One for the Angels. Anyway, those two episodes of Twilight Zone are amazing.
Shall we be done on this positive?
This episode?
No.
Reformed White Knight, right? No, please not Harry Potter, Valeria. That's meant to lead people away from God. I don't actually think it is. There are other children's books that are definitely meant to lead children away from God. Absolutely horrific stuff. I've seen some. What was it called? I don't remember. Something with these polar bears, and it's all about like witchcraft and how Christianity is evil. And I mean, it is. There's some messed up stuff out there. But I don't think Harry Potter is actually intended to be anti-Christian per se. But maybe it is, and I just didn't notice. But when I watched them, I didn't think it was that bad. Yeah. Valeria's Christian, and she grew up on Harry Potter. To Serve Man, Twilight Zone. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm just reading some of these. Narnia books. Oh, yeah, read the Narnia books. Even as an adult. I haven't read them since I was a kid, but I imagine as an adult they would also be excellent. I haven't looked at those in years, but I have the set, you know. As a kid, those are my favorite books. I grew up in this mentality that, like, I actually wanted to be a writer, I think actually in part because of those books. Yeah, that's right. The Dark Materials by Pullman, Reformed White Knight. He knows. Yeah. Those books, the Dark Materials books, those are like pure flippin' evil. Those like anti-Christian, the devil's good, witchcraft is good. I mean, it takes the whole concept of like Harry Potter and like, oh, witches are funny and fun, and like takes it to a whole nother level where they're like, this guy seems to think that like magic is real and witchcraft is real and the devil's real, and this is crap that we should train kids to like, and that we should train them to hate Christianity. I mean, it's disturbing. The Pullman stuff is really disturbing. You guys should look into that stuff. It's pretty unbelievable that somebody would write children's books that were specifically designed to indoctrinate kids into this hatred of Christianity and this appreciation of like Satanism. It's
Well, my grandma bought me Harry Potter books when I was little, so.
no. I'm not saying
And
that.
she's religious.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying Harry Potter. I'm saying these other books are like that. I'm saying that this distinguishes them from the Harry Potter thing, which I think is more benign.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think she was trying to make witchcraft into something that people actually practiced. Although I do think some people some like younger people grew up and they did get involved in what they thought was a more real world variant of like Wicca, witchcraft, because of Harry Potter. I actually know somebody like that who liked Harry Potter so much she's now a Wiccan. Isn't that weird? It's a weird thing.
Well, I like Harry Potter, but I'm not like like
But she's
this.
still a Christian. But you like those stories. But yeah, I don't think that those Harry Potter books were intentionally trying to drive kids away from Christianity. But yeah, the Pullman stuff that actually is trying to do that, which I think is so disturbing. Lauren Smart writes, "The Wonderful Wizard of Oz is a great series of books. I always wanted to read those. I never got around to it. I know they're for children, but even as an adult, I've always thought, oh, I should get into those. They seem like pretty smart. Let's see, Wheel of Time series. I don't actually know what that is. I vaguely recall hearing about that. Let's see here. People are writing about Narnia stuff. Yeah, Narnia is far better, I think, than the Harry Potter series. I think the Narnia books are some of the best children's books ever written in history. Just amazing series. The Boy in the Red Balloon. The Boy in the Red Balloon. Wasn't that from like? Wasn't that like an Italian film
I
from
don't
like the
know.
40s or something like that? That's you're getting old school there. Mark in Alberta, pride in reading, but you don't have to take my word for it. Oh man, Mark in Alberta, reading Rainbow. Good, yeah, good call. All right, guys, that's it for us. We've made some recommendations of I think good TV shows and stuff to watch, and I think we've had a good night. It's Friday,
Friday.
so you guys enjoy your Friday night and enjoy your weekend. Spend some time with your family. If you hate your father, call him, tell him you love him. I don't know why I said that. I did this video. Was it yesterday or the day before or something like that? We talked about this, how Milo Yiannopoulos is going straight, and I watched all these videos of these men who had become gay and then gone through some kind of conversion therapy type thing and gotten better. Advocating this idea that conversion therapy actually could work. And man, these stories were heart wrenching of these guys. I mean, they were utterly traumatized as young boys. Molestation, all kinds of nasty stuff. But one thing that seemed to be a similar thread with all of them is that they hated their fathers. They really hated their father. They have these all hard-ass fathers. And I realized that being a bad father is like the best possible way to raise a dysfunctional child. If you're an abusive father, your child will turn out messed up. It's like guaranteed. So yeah, I don't, I think most people know that at this point, but I think a lot of people that are now in like their 60s, I don't think their fathers really understood that. At least the guys that got really messed up. So fortunately for me, I had a great dad. I had great grandfathers. I had really good examples to grow up with. So I was very lucky, but listening to these guys' stories, man, it was tough to listen to that stuff. And I just felt like, man, I'm glad the world's a little bit less a-hole-ish, than it used to be. Yeah, don't be such a hard ass if you're a dad, and if your dad was a hard ass, just forgive him and move on with your life, and tell him you love him anyway. All right, that's my advice for today. All right, guys, you have a good night, and we will see you on Monday. You want to say goodbye, darling?
Good night.
Good night. Toxic masculinity.